I am Marie Shadows, your host, and you are listening to the Squared Circle Podcast, the best podcast you ever heard.
Hello, Darby Allin's back, wherever it is. It's last seen in the Crackle Barrel.
Yeah, pretty much. But he also had a dark match too with Shima.
Shima, which was very good.
Yes, it was.
Which, by the way, can we point out the fact that I'm very excited that Taz is gonna be joining the Dark commentary team for
the one episode.
Yeah, for this coming week's episode, which is gonna be really cool because I've always liked Taz's classic isms.
Yeah.
Especially handbags. Hold on a second.
His holy shit moment too.
You can't forget that.
No.
I missed this Botchamania introduction. With the Oompa Loompa.
Oh my god.
That peeks out of the doorway.
Oh my god.
I'm not sorry.
No, you're not. It's totally okay. We don't have to be sorry on the podcast or even hold back cursing or whatever, so we're good.
Excellent.
I did wanted to mention that the first time I saw Darby Allin was at like an Evolve show. He was facing Chris Hero, and Chris Hero was like super cool when I met him. But Darby did not want to stay down in that match. That was like the first time I ever saw him. I did have the chance to listen to Jericho's promo. Jericho's such a classic guy.
He really is.
That another ambulance?
He still has that art down to a T in regards to cutting a pretty good promo.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, it doesn't matter what kind of character he's playing. Like, I think when it comes down to it, like down to the base of any of his incarnations, I guess, would be the fact that it's all stemming from himself.
It is. All of his years in the business and even evolving, he's the best that's like basically done it all. And he's still going. You would think that sometimes when guys get to his age, they don't really know what else to do. But whether he goes rock and roll or wrestling, they'll still be fine.
Definitely.
Yeah, Jericho's always good at reinventing himself and keeping himself in the best shape. That he could either decide to step away from wrestling altogether, and he has Fonzie.
Yeah, he does have Fozzy, yeah. I'm still waiting for that album to drop. He just released Nowhere to Run, and I keep playing that at work. But I'm waiting for the album to drop.
Well, as soon as you find out when it drops, you know what you have to do.
Well, I mean, I'm going to listen to it. I'm probably not going to review it, or we could talk about it on the podcast. Either one. Either way.
If you want, yeah, sure.
It's going to be like, on par with, Minoru Suzuki theme song type good.
Oh, yeah, of course, man. I mean, when you're able to come out to your own theme song, your own song as your theme song, that's great. They had the women's tag match, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, I think it'll add more depth to the dimension of the division, which is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It does still keep the interest between Britt Baker and B Priestley quite nicely, which I thought over the course of the weekend that Priestley would be dropping her World of Stardom championship to Hana Kimura. Enable for her to focus more on AEW, but that wasn't the case. She actually retained her title by beating Hana this past weekend, which I thought was weird. So I wonder what the move is in regards to this feud, where B Priestley stands, moving into the title hunt, I guess, within the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I was surprised about that too, because she had posted a picture up on Twitter that she retained the title, but yet then Japan is still getting hit with the typhoon, right? So
yeah.
And then they stripped Moxley from his United States belt. Yeah,
which is a good move if you ask me.
Yeah, it is. I could see potential storylines from that. Like he's the champion that never lost, so he could always go back and get it from our new champion. Spoiler, guys. Lance Hoyt, Archer, Archer.
No,
Yeah.
it's
I know
yeah,
it's
Lance Archer. Yeah.
That's
okay.
true.
Cool. But
Sorry, he had so many last names.
yeah,
the
I know
last
he
couple
does.
years.
Um,
Like Archer, Hoyt.
yeah.
So
There was
many.
a name that he was at the beginning. Actually, this makes me want to Google this because I'm actually curious now.
Oh my God. Well, welcome back, Russ, to
Thank
the
you.
podcast. But yeah, I found it kind of odd that she was able to head to Japan, but yet then because Moxie couldn't because of the weather and no flights going out, that it was a little like, you know.
Well, that's
Well,
because if you look at the fact that her and Will now live officially in, I think it's in the Osaka prefecture.
Uh-huh.
So in Osaka currently, a few days before the typhoon began to start hitting, was actually not going to get affected. I think at one
Oh.
point, I think BJW was actually going to do an event there, and then when the weather people was like, no, this is going to hit, they were like, okay, we're going to cancel the shows, everyone's on lockdown, period. So I think via because if you check out Audrey, I can't think of the woman's referee, she said that they literally leave in an interview with Chris Vanette, said they literally leave on Monday because the fact that they're in the middle, their main shows in the middle of the week. She literally can leave Thursday
Uh-huh.
and come back early Saturday, and that's when I think it was Saturday afternoon. That's when the whole lockdown procedure for the whole region, Japan, really began, and that's why she didn't have that type of situation with her belt as for Moxley because he lives in the United States, because he has to go literally from where they were Wednesday to his home in Vegas to Japan, which doesn't sound very much, but it's between going from Boston to Vegas. It's like a literally maybe a 4.5, 5 hour flight, and then he gets come home for like maybe an hour or two, and then take a red eye flight literally to Japan, which is like a 25-hour flight.
Uh-huh.
So
Train
yeah.
shooter, that much.
Yeah.
Mhm. But can I also comment on the fact that last week was the first time we seen John Moxley in the gear that he's worn in Japan. A lot
Yeah,
of people
that's
thought
true.
he was actually going to be in the street gear and everything. So
That
the
he's been
question
showing up
now-
in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question now makes me want to ask: is he gonna be the Street Fighter gimmick, or is he gonna be like
The Death Rider.
like the Death Rider slash like I compare him to Dr. Death Steve Williams because when Dr. Death wrestled in WCW in early New Japan, he actually wrestled in a singles singlet, when he didn't go to just Trunks till I think it was in his second tenure in WCW. So I'm kind of curious because you'd think it wouldn't attire doesn't come down to what the gimmick is, but it might.
That is 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to find out who Moxley is because I never really watched the Moxley character before he came over to WWE to be the Dean
Mhm.
Ambrose and part of the Shield. But he never struck me as someone that I could get behind. He's just there and he's a wrestler. So I
Mhm.
just don't have like any general thing, I watch him
He
grow.
is the purveyor of violence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't really do anything for me.
I think
Just saying. Like Shield. Think of like his first run in the Shield.
Uh
Like
huh.
how
Mhm.
kind of like frantic he is, and there's just then add like a Raven mean streak in there.
Hmm.
Oh, well, I mean, I like Raven. Raven was one of my favorites. I could put that out there.
I think he picked up a few traits of the Dean Ambrose gimmick, and then in this is definitely for the people that who have done their research on John Moxley, I should say. A lot of people don't realize him and Sammy Callahan's gimmicks right now are pretty much the same because they intertwine their Switchblade Conspiracy tag team gimmick, which really speaks a lot on their promo work because towards the end of their tag run, they tagged briefly in CCW, which massive shout out to those guys because those guys came out with probably the best shoot wrestler, I think I would say, in many years, like since obviously Dr. Death Steve Williams. But if you watch towards the end of their final promos as a team, you could definitely see the wheels were now really starting to turn for John and Sammy Callahan, because that's what you're seeing now. You're seeing mass.
Hello?
It's great. It's great for the business. We need people who could speak from the heart and also adapt to bullet point style promos.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which I want to touch more when we go to NWA, but
Yes.
we were still talking about AEW. If anyone wants to like mention anything of notable.
Okay, so I was listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one it was, but it was they were commenting on the Shawn Spears match.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I agreed with them was the fact that they said that the chairman gimmick, where he sits on the ramp with the spotlight on him,
Yeah.
and then he slowly gets up and puts the chair up into like a traveling position as his music starts, is a little too corny. Like, it was nice for that all out show, but it really turned the character of what he's supposed to be, which is the chairman, to just another corny entrance punchline. Because and I feel bad for Shawn Spears because he is a great talent. I believe he could be a great and hold on.
So basically, you're saying he turned into Lil Parka.
like actually, what I would like to say is I feel like if you wanted to keep the chair integrated into the gimmick, what they should do was they should actually let him hold the chair with the low light spotlight on him, and then bring the lights up with him holding the chair, and then as Tully Blanchard is accompanying him, he actually can like put it in one of his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm here.
You know.
No, not that. The background noise. That's why I was texting you.
Yeah.
Oh, you can hear it?
Yeah, it's catching on.
Yeah.
It's all right. But yeah, I don't. The thing I want to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Shawn Spears match.
Mm-hmm.
Is the fact that his opponent, which is escaping me right now on top of my head right now.
Are you talking about for this week or for like last week?
I think it was last week.
What's his name? What was his name?
Fuck. We talked about it too. I think we did.
Who are we talking about?
Who did Shawn Spears face last week?
Moxley.
Moxley.
Wait, crap. My days are like going together.
My days have been going
He did
because
fight.
I've been
He did
watching
fight him.
it like I'll not watch it for 2 weeks and then I'll just watch it
Yeah.
in like succession, so I could be like, okay,
Well,
this is okay.
Well, that's what I did for today for the podcast. I caught up on everything, so that's why I'm like, go ahead.
But that match, if you noticed, I felt like in a show that the first week, I think they got it right. They got it correct in
Mhm.
terms of the pacing of the show and how it should be. The second week of the show, I felt like and I
Toned
don't
it
want
down.
to say this as an insult to him because he's been in the business longer than most people give him credit for.
Mhm.
He I felt like him and Moxley kind of dragged out a little too much in terms of telling the story of Sean trying to get into John's head and then it's not working, so he turns to Tully. I feel like you're using Tully too much to tell the story. You should tell the story in the ring and then have like Tully occasionally, like if he went for like the Ricochet clothesline
Yeah.
that he does in between the ropes.
Yeah.
I feel like before he goes into that ropes, he pushes on the ropes because you can actually fall really bad on the if someone's doing a Ricochet like move on the middle rope, like if Tully like just slightly pushed on it, and that would ruin Moxley's angle for the to come back up, and then that would be like, okay, we're gonna have to take a commercial break. We'll be right back, and you're gonna work on him having the upper back and shoulders injured because that's where he would be very. That's where he'd be injured. That would
Yeah.
make more sense.
I can see that happening, and I can see where that could make sense.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think they're gonna have to really push him hard for it.
Yeah,
So,
they are. I just wish that he didn't lose to Cody early on, because that story could have turned into something better and something
It
with a
could have,
deep
and
what?
I think we touched on that earlier.
Yeah.
Like when we talked about that, and it's just like, if Cody had done the job to Spears, it could have done favors for that character. Where that
mhm.
corny thing that you were talking about before could still kind of work in his favor, like as a cocky
Mhm.
sort in a heelish sort of way, as opposed to like this joke of a character that we see
Yeah.
now that he's taken an L.
Yeah, definitely.
Like in if and I would have to double check because there's people that actually are keeping track of wins and losses. This would actually make his record right now almost as worse, if not the worst record than Kenny Omega.
I think they're in the same
Which
boat, to be honest.
that's a big uh-oh.
Are we
I
talking
think
about like only in AEW or like as a whole?
AEW, right?
Okay.
In the
Yeah.
AEW, like overall wins. We're not talking like singles, but
Yeah.
because they're from what my understanding is they're gonna look at the overall
Yeah, they
before
are.
the single. Which is good. But I personally believe that if they do not do anything after this whole Kenny Omega Pac Moxley situation,
Mhm.
so that's called a herring, folks. I think after this, there should be a long storyline, like a slow burn storyline with Sean Spears and Kenny Omega, because I feel like if they keep with this whole Moxley Pac thing, it's not going to work out for everyone because everyone's gonna be like, but we already seen these two face each other.
Yeah.
Okay, gee, we can hear you.
Okay,
Gio, do you want to add anything?
touching on Sean Spears' win. Well, actually, he has no wins at the moment. It's kind of like people may have the WWE didn't really do him right. Now he went to AEW and he's taking like 2 losses. Cody, further the story with Cody, I would have liked it if Sean Spears actually beat Cody, and he has like this, you know, I'm the chairman defeated the executive type thing. Hopefully, if you have like I guess the record would be 2 losses and 0 wins. At some point, you gotta break the losing streak somehow, especially if wins and losses very seriously. So it's a good and bad thing. Of Sean Spears and Kenny Omega can probably will bounce back from this. Win first, Kenny or Sean Spears?
Well, actually, Kenny does have a win, a singles win
Shima?
against I think it was Shima.
I think it's
Yeah.
Shima.
In a single
Um,
match.
Yeah.
Did I miss that?
And Sean does have a win during Fight for the Fallen when, and I would have to be correct on this, when he tagged with MJF and Sammy Guevara, defeated
that's
Darby
right.
Allin, Jimmy Havoc, and Joey Janela. Now, actually, I just thought about this.
Hmm.
Is there going to be a major connection to bring Sean Spears to the Inner Circle?
Oh,
Mm.
I mean, that's probably a highly likely thing when people look at it right now on paper, but right now I feel like it would be an NWO type angle if they were just keep throwing members into the Inner Circle.
it would be.
Yeah.
Definitely
Like
would
that,
be.
he should have been a nomination in the first place, as opposed to be honest, like I can do without Sammy Guevara in that group.
Yeah. I feel like he's kind of the child that gets chosen.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's like
He
Harry
is.
Potter.
Yeah,
He's the
he
boy
is.
that who could get lived.
He is. He definitely is. I could definitely agree with that.
Like this group does absolutely no wonders for him. I guess like basically how we're gonna have to look at this is like see the next week and see how they
Mhm.
kind of work him into like matches, the tag matches, the angles and stuff like that. Because right now it just seems to be like I felt like they were like grasping at straws maybe, or just be like I don't know, like Jericho might have been like, I definitely want to work with Guevara Kid, but at the same time just like there were better options.
If I could actually pull a prediction here,
Sure.
think, for Full Gear, which
Yeah.
is in 5 weeks, if I'm correct. Yeah, that's 5 weeks. I think the first tag match that to come out of the Inner Circle is going to be a match where it's going to be Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager, which that's going to be an interesting factor because is he going to be more of a submission based wrestler because his wins in Bellator have been via submission, or
Mhm.
is it going to be the Jack Swagger that we're all used to know, we the people, but with a more heel twist to it?
It might be a combination.
But the question is, who do you think? I got a question. Who would be the perfect opponents for that specific type of matchup? Because would you think, because now the Young Bucks were inserted into this, would this be an elite versus the Inner Circle type of matchups where you're gonna stack those types of matches?
That's
together?
what I had posed last episode, is that like it might end up being like a Survivor Series that, like, they'll take a punch at, WWE with their Survivor Series pay-per-view and have like their first ever just one match, 5 against 5.
Well, I could say okay to that. It's just the question is if they do that type of match and to get everyone's stuff in, how much time is that going to take away from
The rest of the matches.
the rest of the
That's true
matches?
too.
'Cause from what I understand, through a lot of sources like Brian Alvarez and obviously Papa Meltzer.
Yeah.
I always call him Papa.
Yeah.
There's supposedly going to be a few members from the Crash Lucha Libre they're gonna do a Lucha Libre rules tag team matchup
Hmm.
in which is gonna involve the Lucha Brothers. So that makes me also want to point out, is that gonna be another spoiler? Because obviously I think it's either this week or next week. The Lucha Brothers have a first round tag team match up against. I think it is
I forgot who they're
either.
wrestling. Is it?
Uh,
It's Luchasaurus. It's
Luchasaurus, yeah.
The Jurassic
yeah,
Express.
yeah, yeah,
Jurassic
yeah.
Express.
Yeah, the Jurassic Express,
A dinosaur and their boys. Wait, what?
which is adorable.
Yeah,
It's cute. It's
It's
cute.
adorable.
it's cute.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I think that's gonna be a really interesting storyline, I guess you could say, in terms of the inner circle versus the elite. Is
Yeah,
this
it
gonna
is.
take what AEW is gonna become? Because I feel like they're gonna try to cash in on that WCW, like NWO versus WCW kind of feud, but
I think they did it way too soon.
yeah, they
Yeah.
should have waited at least a year. I think that would have been a more fair enough, like, get more people established. But I do like the Jake Hager and Chris Jericho thing, because it does add a little bit of that WCW Jericho mixed with the heel Chris Jericho 2008, 9, 10 Jericho together to form this version of Chris Jericho, which I think a lot of people like better
Yeah,
than
it
the
works.
stupid idiot gimmick. I
Yeah.
mean, it's catchy, but
He called someone a stupid idiot. I think he called the Bucks and Cody towards the end.
Well, he even
Yeah.
referred to his list when he talked about Sammy Guevara too.
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah, they're all part of the list. They
Yeah.
made this list.
Which I thought that
they
was
all
pretty
popped on
funny.
the list.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that I'm happy that the Young Bucks did not win the match against Private Party. I don't really remember if another match ever made me smile the way that match did, because it just felt right between all groups. But
Yeah, I'm glad the Bucks did the job.
yep, I'm
Yeah.
happy about that.
Well,
What's
and
up?
also the fact that the Young Bucks have I think a lot of people don't see it because, you know, they're like, oh, they're rich, they're the biggest names in professional wrestling today, they're at to the point where they're comparing them to like the Midnight Express of their generation, which I mean, fair shot.
Yeah.
But when's the last time you heard the All Night Express or the Midnight Rockers actually doing a job for a young people towards the end of their like tag team runs?
I don't think so.
Like
Yeah, you
will never
don't hear
ever
it that
hear it.
much. But you know, I like the fact that the Bucks are doing it because they see someone who can become their generation, the next generation's young Bucks, because those guys can go.
Yeah.
Like, they're like I can't think of the name of the guy, the bigger of the two, which I should be
Are you talking about
putting
Private Party?
yes, a Private Party.
It's Marcus and the other kid, which I should know because
Marcus Quinn. Marcus Quinn. There you go.
yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Marcus Quinn is like, honestly, he if I could borrow a Husky Harris reference, he's literally a tank with a Ferrari engine. Like
Mm,
he's built
yeah.
for like a lot of, like, if there's more ladder matches to come per year than obviously WWE does, they can take a lot of those. He could take a lot of those bumps and then some.
Yeah, he could.
Definitely.
Yeah,
But
Private
I
Party-
think they're gonna be. I and I've said this before. I think they're gonna be the ones that beat the Dark Order, because Dark Order. I feel like Dark Order's run so far is a little perplexed,
It is.
like right now, because everyone's like, okay, where they're at, it's kind of like, where are they?
Yeah, they've been missing a few shows now. It's just like
I
Yeah.
feel like, especially if it's the best, this week it's the best friends
Hmm.
match. I feel like they should like make their presence known,
Yeah.
like put a goon at the entrance ramp, like right before they do the Rainmaker zoom out of the hug, and they see the goon, they get distracted and they lose the match. I feel like that's what's gonna happen, because I'm I've studied a lot of Dusty Rhodes style booking. Cody has a lot of that booking style, but with his own twist. I think that's what's gonna happen, because it makes more sense, because it puts over the heel team a lot more.
Yeah. Gio, did you want to say something?
We'll probably get to see the Dark Order making their presence known. Wrestling this coming week.
Just
No, they
follow.
got the first round bye. So this week and next week is the last two first rounds,
Okay,
Mm.
so
if I'm correct.
they get a pass, so they're like
Yeah.
yeah,
somewhat
they're
in the
just waiting.
finals. They're just waiting to see who wins the rest of the tournament, and they face the winners.
No, they won the first round bye, so the next set of matches would be for them.
Okay, got it. Yeah, the Dark Orders. It's not. They're all over the place, so we just have to see where the direction goes. Right now, they're just here to destroy all the tag teams, take over the tag team division. Many dark squads of order.
Squads of Order. I love that.
Let's just move into NWA.
Yay.
Ooh.
Um,
Alpha Russ has been waiting for this
yeah,
moment.
because I actually watched it today and I left a message in the Discord and I was like, I finally watched it. I got transported back in time and I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
like if I could really take the reins here for a minute.
Go ahead, dude.
The
All
the the
yours.
the the NWA Power Show, um which a lot of people I've been at, a lot of people have been asking about, especially about the ring size, which a lot of people don't realize. Um, the NWA, Ring of Honor to a certain degree now, um, and I think currently, because I just seen that they did this, Pro Wrestling Noah is currently an 18 by 18 ring right now, because most modern promotions that you see on TV have a 20 by 20 ring,
Yes.
which it makes, especially for 6-man tags, a lot more easier to do. But it for studio shows, 18 by 18 is perfect.
Hmm.
The one thing I uh, in my notes, because I had to remember 'em from the top of my head. Um, the hard cam's a little bit short. I feel like
It is.
if they had a shorter ring, like in terms of height, I feel like maybe a foot off would be perfect. Because a lot of the times, and to be fair, I looked back on some other references. Georgia Power, I think it was Georgia Wrestling 90 or 90, and then 89. They did have that. They did have that type of camera style, but they adopted it a lower ring towards the end of their run in the studio. And the cool thing about the studio is it's literally a block away from the original building,
Oh, cool.
which is awesome. And in the studio, it definitely has a lot of the Jim Crockett promotion style studio, but with a lot of modern things, like opening shot with the commentators, which was Jim Cornette and Joe Galli, it was it did use modern LED lighting, which really actually made it more presentable. I think it definitely helped give the show like a awesome standing towards.
Did you put salt?
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Oh, sorry. But I feel like the lighting really did give the show the proper aesthetic, and the fact that there's no entrance music, title card intros, no ring announcer from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It was short and sweet, which gave more time for wrestling.
Which that's what it felt like. It felt like going back in time. Don't mind me, I'm getting distracted because we have to like freaking cook. But
Chicken.
yeah, dude, you're gonna see a good ass picture of it, man. I did a really good one. But this is not part of the podcast. Anyway,
This is an edit.
no. I I loved it from like start to finish. It was throwing me off because I never really paid attention to when I was watching it back in the day. And then now it comes back that the place where they do the interview section is in the same area where they wrestle. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? It was just throwing me completely off because I felt like they were backstage because that's all you
Mhm.
saw in like camera wise. And then all of a sudden it's like a fight breaks out and then you see the ring, you see the crowd, and like it's like, whoa, what? We're on the same thing?
It really
There's-
is kind of like a throwback. Like if you ever remember watching like WWF Superstars or any of that sort at all, they had the same thing. Like you know, they had the commentary desk off to the side where the ringside is. They go to do the interviews off the side over there. I think even back even in the old WCW house shows, even or not the house shows, but like you know when they did
It
earlier
was,
TV, they had the same type
Sat-
of layout there.
I think the first two, well, because now they're seasons of WCW Saturday Night actually adopted that format until I think it was about around 94 when they began to do it more like the, and I hate using this analogy. It's like using the double dare style seating around the ring, which kind of made it
Oh,
seem too cramped.
yeah,
my
it really
opinion.
did. Yeah.
But the studio where they had the studio risers and no one else around the ring, perfect. It made sense. But if I could segue into this, the opening promo by Aldis,
Mhm.
it I was listening to it because I had a phone, I had a text message, and I was checking it, I was reading it, and when he spoke, the quote, "I'm not gonna be here to do the job in the
Yeah,
NWA." I think that's what the
something
quote
like
was.
that.
He It brought a lot of early Harley Race chasing after the title
Mhm.
from Ric Flair for his, I think it was his second reign, because you could hear the seriousness, like, and it was from the heart. It
Yeah.
was such a good promo. Like I had to pause the show for a minute because I was just so blown away by, like, it's a 3-minute segment, but he made it feel like it was like if I more analogies here.
Go ahead.
If I could take a reference here, it's like going to a rock concert and they play your song, and you're blown away by how good it sounds in person.
Oh, that. Yeah.
It's just like, it's kind of that blown away,
I,
which I felt like that set the whole tempo. Period.
it
Like,
did.
it really did.
And I do want to mention too that like every promo I heard from any one of them, it felt like it was authentic. It felt like, they were speaking from the heart. They probably had like bullet points, just to make things easier. But it felt like this was their character and this is what made you believe in what they were doing and what they wanted to accomplish. So that was like a very good part on them, which was really nice.
I want to get into one of the matches, which I really, which was the first match in the whole show,
Okay.
which was the Dawsons facing a couple jobbers.
Yeah.
Now the Dawsons, I'm slightly familiar with. They did some work in our not Dragon Gate. It was 01 USA a couple months ago, and a friend of mine who Jake Landers, he was at the show and he showed me the video because he's like, dude, you would love these guys. And and these guys have this like I wouldn't say it's Viking experience like finisher, but I would say definitely more like along the lines of the Bludgeon Brothers type of style, because it's no nonsense smash mouth, like in your face big man style tag. The only thing I had that really kind of made it a perfect like introduction into the Dawsons was the fact that the match style was the match pacing was a little slow.
Yeah.
I felt like if they really wanted to do the job,
Mhm.
they should do it 2 minutes flat, like no more than that.
Yeah.
Like it was a good introduction to the Dawsons. I think besides them and the tag team champions, which now has a great throwback name in the Wild Cards of Thomas Latimer,
Yeah. Yeah.
formerly known as Bram, and Royal Isaacs, is gonna I feel like that's going to be a great match that they can advertise for a future television tapings, because they're going to do some in December in Atlanta, and I think that's going to be a great match that you can advertise to NWA and say like, hey, look, there's going to be a championship match for the NWA tag titles right here in the main event. It's going to be a classic, like brawler versus brawler, brawler versus brawler. We're going to go for it. I think they're gonna make it almost the second half of the whole show.
Oh.
Like, I think tag team championship matches like that should have that slow, methodical pace, and to tell a story about the tag team champions and the challengers and give them the proper amount of time.
Yeah. Definitely. I wanted to ask if you had saw any matches of Tim Storm like
Yes.
before, because I don't know anything about the guy, but he made me believe in this one episode, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
damn, where was I during your career?
He wrestled in a now defunctioned company called Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, which, fun fact, they actually modeled their world championship belt after the Mid South Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, which I thought was amazing.
Oh my god.
And he had I think it was a 2-year reign, and then he lost the belt, and then they closed down the promotion, unfortunately, which I wish they come back, because it felt more NWA uh, towards the beginning of the Dark Ages a little bit, when Dusty left and then Harley retired and Ric Flair went to WCW, WWF
Mhm.
type of era. But besides the point, um, I like Tim Storm. Tim Storm is a very good veteran. I
He's 54.
feel like, yeah, he's 54, and he's only done it for, I think he said 10 years, 10, 15 years.
No, he said 25
And
years. He has a 25-year
25 years?
career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they said.
Dude,
25-year
Yeah.
career.
yeah, 25-year career. Okay. I feel like this is going to be the beginning of, I would say, a flip-flop moment, if you will, because I feel like what's going to happen is whoever comes out of the Josephus and James Storm contest, because I feel like they're gonna have that's foreshadowing what's gonna happen later in the show.
Hmm.
I feel like the loser of that match is gonna challenge Aldis and eventually get the belt.
Yeah.
Because I feel like and it's gonna be because Storm gets involved in the match because it's Aldis. I don't want to spoil, but I mean,
I mean, you could
yeah,
just say
I think
spoiler.
there's gonna be an involvement, and it's gonna turn into a kind of like a double, a flip flop. Like he's gonna be the heel, and Aldis is gonna be the baby face.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Oh, go ahead, man.
Now, can we talk about the NWA champions for a minute? Because
Sure, we could do that.
yeah, now I don't know if you're very familiar with Royce Isaac's background, but
No, not really.
he's a very good technical wrestler. A lot of people don't see him do that very much, but I think he complements Thomas Latimer, the former Bram from TNA days.
Which I didn't recognize that was him.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, "Who's Thomas Latimer?" And then they Googled him. They're like,
Yeah, that dude. Yeah, that dude.
because he was like the last King of the Mountain champion, and everyone's like, "Oh, like what title? The one title that keeps changing names every year?"
Pretty much.
I like what happened though in that one episode though, where the tag teams were confronted, and he got called out by his old TNA name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During that promo, I was just like, "Oh my gosh!"
But their match against Another Jobbers, I think this was just establishing champions. I think really, let's be completely honest. The Wild Cards, which is a great throwback name.
Yeah. And they look like wild cards too, in a way.
Yes, they do. They had a very dominant match. I think they're gonna book the whole rocket ship on the Wild Cards for a while. Because because I mean, besides Villain Enterprise holding the title last,
Yeah.
I feel like they need to have a long tag title reign to make it more established title again. Because I mean, you have great tag team champions like obviously the Horsemen. I'm trying to think a couple others. America's Most Wanted, AJ Styles, and Christopher Daniels. LAX even, which kind of red herrings into what happens after the match. So the Wild Cards come to the interview section of the room, and out comes Kingston.
Yeah, and he starts everything. Yeah.
And I've read multiple articles after I read the day after the show came on, and everyone gave Kingston an A+, because, and they said it best, this is the type of format that he's gonna do very, very, very well in. And he gives a compelling promo to advertise the team.
Yeah, he does.
Saying like, blah 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 blah. We're gonna take everyone's head off. Blah 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 blah. And then Kingston's like, well, you could say that, but there's another team who will basically take your juggler out and like floss their teeth with. I guess
yeah. He used that.
But I wrote this down because I think this is going to be the first big program that they're going to do. I think Kingston and Homicide, which they're still going by the Outlaw Inc. name. I think if they actually even do an NWA anniversary event, I think that's going to be the main event of the show.
It probably should be.
It should be, because I think that's going to make a lot of people want to pay attention to tag team wrestling for a minute and just say, okay, I mean, 10 pounds cold is cool, but this is a matchup that has a lot of layers within layers.
It does. I wanted to mention that I finally got the chance to meet Homicide when JD Alpha was wrestling for NEW over at the
Mhm.
Elks Lodge. Homicide is cool. He was, a little jacked up, but he was cool to like hug, and he was telling me to, follow my dreams and like, about school and shit like that. And I was just like, dude, I'm so not in school anymore. Like I couldn't stay there to tell him that I went to WWE, but next time I got him.
Yeah.
You got him.
Yeah.
That's cool. You
I'm
got to
surprised
him.
you didn't ask him about the whole the mythical bump that him and CM Punk took inside the strip club at Ring of Honor. That
um,
was,
I don't.
oh my.
I mean, he was like I said, he was drunk and
Oh,
high,
okay.
so he was jacked up that way.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. He was jacked up that way. He was intoxicated, so I
Fair
couldn't
enough.
get much out of him.
Yeah, he's a good old boy. He could he's done his dues enough.
Yeah, and I really thought that day that a fight was gonna break out between a fan and Julius Smokes, because that fan, man, I was like, it's part of the show. It's what he does. Can you not like do that to him? Like it's okay.
Some of these fans just go crazy on these shows.
Hmm.
They cross the
Yeah.
line.
They had
It's
too
still
much to
real to
drink.
me, damn it.
Yeah. During the NWA thing, when they went to the fans to talk to them, someone actually did say that. I thought it was funny.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think
All
I
right.
What?
feel
Uh,
real to me.
yeah.
Um.
But yeah, like I said, I think they're gonna do that as the main event. I think this is gonna be the, if they're doing an anniversary event, they should change it up every year. Like NWA World Title gets it this year at the
The tag.
main floor. This year the tags should, and I think the women's should also as well
Yeah.
next year.
Because they were
Like
saying
come up
that
with a pattern.
yeah, they were saying that Allison Kay is gonna be defending her title tomorrow, since I heard that they're gonna be live streaming tomorrow. And I think that's an excellent idea for them to use, just because it's NWA and it's very prestigious and it has a heavy history of creating
Mhm.
champions. And I think that's a good idea, rather than like always focusing on the 10 pounds of gold.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and people forget that, when Billy Corgan reintroduced the National Heavyweight Championship, which by the way, I didn't know this was that belt was based off of NWA California's belt for the United States belt, which
Oh,
Roddy Piper, may he rest in peace,
yeah.
great man, was a champion of.
Oh.
Which I was like, I love this nod. I love this nod to
Mhm.
that reference. Um, but I think I think there if it, as soon as that belt got introduced, a lot of people were like, okay, that's a pretty belt, but I want to concentrate on the 10 pounds of gold.
Yeah, that's what he did.
It's I feel like now I think the showrunners are gonna have to remember, it can't be all about the 10 pounds of gold all the time exactly, but I mean, you could pepper it in, but you got to concentrate on, like, if, like, for example, if the tag team titles are on the line, you could
Mhm.
pepper in like segments about, like, the NWA World Champion being at over this place this past weekend. Here's some highlights, and here's the challenger for the upcoming match in a few weeks from this show.
Mhm.
Blah blah blah. I feel like you got to pepper that in because that gives it more nostalgic mode, because that's what the Jim Crockett Promotions did for towards the end of the Dusty Rhodes Ric Flair run, where the infamous Hard Times promo came out of, and we saw like their matches from, like, at one point I think they actually filmed a match that was in Japan, and he was Flair was fighting Marufuji,
Yeah.
which was a really good bout. Um, but yeah, I think that's the proper way they need to address the belt now moving forward.
I totally agree with that, and I'll probably tag NWA so that way they can hear you say all that. I'll
Yes.
let them. I'll let them know. Epic and Gio, if you guys want to add anything, you guys can.
After you, Gio.
you?
I guess I'll go in. Basically, I agree with everything that you guys are just basically going on in regards to the promotion, in regards to how they should build up champions. I feel like yes, sometimes they put a little too much emphasis on their main championship, which is cool and all. But I feel like yes, I mean, like James Storm is trying to do a great job on his own, trying to give himself some hype. Now holding the national championship is probably going to be a good thing as well, and hopefully that with Storm holding on to that championship, hopefully it does a lot more good for that championship, because I felt like okay, sure, we had Willie Mack,
Yeah.
who was going between promotions, who was going
Mhm.
between Impact and NWA, doing his work there, which is okay. I also feel that Colt Cabana
Mm-hmm.
didn't really do a great job with it.
Yeah.
Given his tenure with it was that great to begin with, given that he had an injury, but at the same time, it's just I feel like a person who's as loud as Storm, who makes makes as much noise as Storm does, will do a lot of great for this championship. But I hope, for the sake of things they both the championship and Storm could bring each other up in regards to bringing importance to the character and the importance of the championship as well, as much as the NWA did with the 10 pounds of gold.
Now, I want to point this out because a lot of people have been asking on the subreddits of Ring of Honor when they promote a new episode on their website. They're asking where's Colt Cabana.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of people I've been talking to that kind of know the inside story about Ring of Honor. They're saying that Colt is going to be working only the bigger shows. So
Oh.
Final Battle will be his next, I think, particular segment into this. But the person that who took over for him on color for Ring of Honor, I think he's gonna do very well.
Yeah.
He's actually very knowledgeable. But I think Colt's gonna be a long-term NWA person because I think him and Corgan, not because they're both from Chicago, they have that same dream of the NWA, and they kind of see eye to eye with a lot of stuff. And if they don't see anything, then obviously, well, they're gonna talk about it. I think we're gonna see another title reign from Colt Cabana for the NWA World Title in 2 years top.
Okay.
That's a very bold prediction.
That is a very bold prediction for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's straight out of left field.
Yeah, it is. It's straight out left field.
Coming out to left field saying good night, Irene.
In 2 years' time.
2 years times.
We'll,
Yes.
we'll hold you that. We'll hold you to that in 2
Yeah.
years' time. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, we'll
I
come
don't,
back.
Then if Walter
This
ever,
podcast.
quits WWE UK, well, I'll ask him to chop me on your guys' behalf. Chop me down to heaven.
I mean, since we're gonna meet up for PAX East, I'll give you that shot myself.
Hey, all right, there you go.
We're gonna be.
PAX East.
Hey,
we're gonna live stream the chop.
Yeah, we could do that. We're gonna teach Epic how to actually do
Do
it.
it proper.
Yeah.
Oh, what you say? I don't know how to chop?
Well, you could do it
Ooh.
harder, probably. We could teach you that.
I mean, I might not do it according to American standards, but I know strong style.
Well, you could do strong style, but I mean, you got 3 Spanish people who can chop hard. We're the hardest hitters.
Tranquilo, man. Tranquilo.
I'm not doubting it at all.
Speaking of that, by the way, I feel like we forgot to mention this. Of course, obviously, our thoughts and vibes are to the people that are affected in the monsoon.
Oh.
I noticed we forgot to talk about this, but I hope everyone's safe. I hope everyone's doing good. If you're still in the way of the storm, stay in shelter. Make sure you have a lot of videos downloaded correctly. You should add, yeah, no Napster, please, no.
What? Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but stay safe and warm, and make sure your family is protected and everything, because we here at the podcast, we want to make sure everyone's having a good time, everything.
Yeah, we do.
If I could speak on everyone's behalf,
You can.
that's definitely we all care.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I want to visit Japan one day, and hopefully my job will be able to let me do that. But yeah, I hope that they're all safe. I do know that Japan gets hit with like some random shit, and I guess I
Yep.
could make one joke that it always has to be a Godzilla thing, you know, or it could be a Mothra thing during the typhoon.
Can we just leave the poor guy alone? Like,
Godzilla's
guy
like,
gets enough flack for coming in to, like, every 1,000 years just to, like, do his business, and everybody gotta be all up in his shit about it.
Look, man, I love Godzilla. Okay, it's my tribute to him. Anyway,
right.
we really do hope you guys are safe.
Yes. But speaking of natural disasters, I know I want to talk about Eli Drake and his promo, but I got to talk about this because it's gonna bug me.
Okay, go ahead.
The end of days. So, for those who don't know, Josephus, he was a former Resistance Pro, the actual promotion that Billy Corgan actually owned in Chicago. A few years before he did his brief little stint in Impact, and then obviously now with NWA. He was their second longest reigning world champion. And he's a good ring worker. I love his ring work. But his look was very, very interesting. I liked it. It was very outside of the box kind of a thing. He was like a hybrid, like monk, god kind of complex character. But I feel like when him and David Arquette fought and he lost the match and he had to cut his hair, I don't want to insult the poor man, because I mean he's had probably, I think, hypothetically his worst year in a long time. Because,
okay.
I mean, he wrestled Storm I think it was last July.
Oh gosh,
in
if you're
that
gonna talk
empty
about what
arena,
I think,
empty arena
Oh,
brawl.
Oh, I hate those matches sometimes.
They're cringy.
Yeah, they are cringy.
But he lost to David Arquette. David Arquette.
Well, he's the first WCW
World
champion, not the
champion.
first WCW champion, but a WCW champion.
Yeah.
Celebrity.
But he lost to an actor, and he shaved his head. So he interrupts James Storm's promo, and James Storm promos, which a lot of people don't give him credit for. He brings it. He brings it more than I think a lot of people give him credit for. And I felt like that interruption was actually the most cleanest interruption I think I would say this was the perfect interruption of a promo. Until they started running around the dang desk.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that right now. In all honesty, I am looking at that image as we talk about this right now. There's
Oh my
an
God.
animated GIF of this.
I wanted to like literally yell at my screen, going, "Billy, what are you doing?"
I was just watching this thing loop and loop, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're talking about this.
So this is the thing. There I guess if this can tie into the North American heavyweight championship picture, or United States heavyweight champion. There you go. I think they're gonna. I know it's the weirdest GIF I ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but other than that, I think they're gonna put the belt on him. I think they're gonna put the belt on him.
The national belt? They're gonna put it on Joe.
I think they're gonna do it, but they're gonna do it after the fact of the world heavyweight title. get the NWA World Heavyweight Title situation, because if you think about it, if Tim Storm costs Aldis the title,
Mm-hmm.
and that puts like James Storm into the spot again, which I think highly that's what's going to happen. I think Tim Storm and Josephus is going to continue this year-long rivalry that they kind of put on the shelf, and it was actually perfect. If anyone watched the original like NWA promos before the 10 pounds of gold really started to pick up speed, I think that's going to be one of those rivalries that's going to be like their Ric Flair Harley Race kind of rivalries, because if at this point Tim Storm can't challenge for the NWA title, sorry spoilers, but if he can't challenge for that, he's going to cost Aldis that title by any means necessary, but that's going to put Josephus maybe on the side of Aldis to try to even it out. So I'm kind of looking at the landscape of what NWA is going to be like. Is there going to be a multitude of power moves to happen at the next big event, which I would think hypothetically would be the NWA 71?
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually showed my friend that, and he's like, you know what? If I was James Storm, I'd shoot myself in the foot before I ever do anything like that again.
What, running around the
It's
table?
immortalized
running around the
now.
table.
Oh
like
my
that.
god.
Watching this GIF, it's too funny.
What did you think about that, G? Because I feel like you could see a little bit of this the landscape in this type of rivalry change. Yeah. Gio. Yeah. What you think?
It could be a long-term thing, could be a short-term thing. James Storm, a lot of people don't give the guy credit for like maybe his wrestling ability and his promo ability, but I guess I'm just watching along because it's very interesting to see the show. And I felt like I was in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, cool, power. Let me check it out. I checked it out. But it's so different compared to like the mainstream television that we see from WWE and AEW.
Yeah.
So you can see that. I think it's gonna grow. I can't believe he really ran through this table. This GIF is just mesmerizing. I'm sorry.
It's majestic, yes.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette
It's
just
like
like,
running.
oh my god.
Damien Sandow, Bob Ross had a baby.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
Oh my god, dude.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up in the stream for you guys real quick so you guys can see what we're talking about.
But this kind of does remind me every time that Epic plays Dead by Daylight and the killer's trying to get him, and the killer never gets Epic.
Gets
It was this endless loop.
Yeah. So basically, like, if whenever we or he plays Dead by Daylight, he does this exact same shit.
Puts that pallet right in front of him, is like,
yeah. But
that chair that goes down is the pallet.
What happened?
When James Storm pulls on
yeah.
Jim
chair.
Cornette.
Yeah.
No, Jim Cornette was trying to get out of the way.
He was.
He accidentally
really was.
dropped the chair.
Oh
Trying,
my
but
god.
where can he really go?
He can't really go anywhere. Except calling people buffoons on Twitter.
Yep.
He does that a lot. He does that a lot, but
Oh my god.
All right, so
we should probably Epic, you should probably have this somewhere saved in like your DLive stickers or whatever whenever you like trip up a killer. Whatever.
work on it.
Yeah, whatever you want. All right. So, final thoughts about NWA?
It has a lot of momentum going for it right now. I feel like alternatives are good, and I feel like this resonates with a lot of classic fans out there, and I think us included for
Mhm.
sure.
Definitely.
Again, if they take into factor that if they really trusted in the talent to utilize all of them as
Mhm.
opposed to relying on all this a whole lot, as
Yeah.
great as it is right now, give the talent time to shine. Like Kingston working with Homicide against. I guess we can't really use this right now, and as spoilers, I don't know if this happened or if the flip flop happened. I don't know, but is it the Rock and Roll Express picked up the championships again? The wild card is.
I mean, on Google they do have the belts, but I don't know if that's
I don't know
recent
if they.
or I don't know.
Let me double check this real quick because according to what I read to one of the spoilers for the live events, the Rock and Roll Express did beat the wild cards for the championship. So,
Ooh.
Well,
Okay.
it's basic.
as much as I would like to think that there should be a feud down the line,
Hmm.
yeah.
Oh,
So
they
right now the
did.
current champions are the Rock and Roll Express. Yes. So
Oh my God.
They
He's
might
strong
have.
right now.
They might have done it in either this week's or next week's episode.
I think this coming taping, yeah. So this coming episode, they beat the wild cards, I believe.
Oh, but I thought like
Because
these were live.
No.
Oh.
no, they do the
they
tapings
work,
like Impact.
they
Oh.
work like the NXT tapings.
Oh.
They do them in batches, yeah.
You hear the
Yeah.
sadness in my voice. Oh.
Oh.
Oh my
Like,
God.
they can't pull this off live. Not with the current capacity that they're in right now. I believe Corgan could only pour so much into it because he doesn't
Yeah.
have a lot of financial backing of his own.
Okay.
He's got enough money, but I mean, he doesn't have a lot of, I guess, like benefactors and investors behind
Well,
him.
look, I can help with that. He could just make a Patreon, and people could just freaking donate money every month to different tiers. Like Billy Corgan should get a freaking Patreon. I should tweet that to him.
Should
The
you should
Patreon.
do that?
I
He might check you
mean,
out.
NWA actually did get back to your post. In
Yeah,
regards
they
to your
did. I love
podcast.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're cool.
So I mean, they listen.
They
They
did.
They came back.
listen to things. They read things.
Okay. But before we conclude with the NWA, my thoughts.
Yeah.
I have to point out in the main event,
Mhm.
the lady that accompanies to the ring, with
It's
Nick Aldis,
Camille.
who's not his wife, Mickey
It's
James.
it's
Keep
not.
that in mind, people. I
Nope.
gotta give Camille the 5-star rating here in terms of like toughness
Mhm.
because she took a lariat in a, let's say, 3.5 feet wide area
Yeah.
and took it from a 200 and I think they say he's like 283 pounds Tim Storm, just like boom, like she fell down and I just sat there like, whoa.
Oh no, Storm wasn't
She
the one that gave
took
it to her.
it.
It was all this. It was all this that hit her.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was set up for her to hit her, but like which played into Aldis's heel status in great way.
Mhm.
But that lariat, whoa! I'm like, just give her the NWA Women's title now. She could take a bit. She took the best bump I think in the whole show. Period.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've seen her ring work. I've seen like
Yeah.
some of her videos up on YouTube. Needs work.
Yeah. But all in all, I think this was a great establishing episode. There is talks I've heard that Jim Cornette might be only a temp in terms of commentary. They might be putting Colt Cabana in his spot for future tapings that move outside of Atlanta or the East Coast side of things. I don't know if that's a true thing. I have to look into it. But
Yeah.
if they do, that's great because as you seen when during his Ring of Honor time, his second stint that third stint I should say, when he was NWA champion, he did it so well. Like he could go transition into commentary, and if need be, he could wrestle immediately.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
he's that good. Like I think that would be a great spot for Colt Cabana to transition to, if that was the call for it. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Jim Cornette's commentary. It's really good. It takes
Yeah.
me back in time, but you know, a lot of Colt's innuendos and analogies for a lot of holds and all that does register with a lot of Jim Cornette isms. So I think if there's a situation where they take the NWA Power Show outside of the studio to
Mhm.
another one in another town, that's fine. We could make that happen. We could put Colt in there so Jim doesn't get frozen in the middle of the Midwest.
Yeah, definitely,
But great
definitely.
show either way.
All right. The only other thing I could think of that we could talk about next is Bailey turning heel.
Yes, I was so happy for this. You don't know how much forward to this. I was like, if
Long
only,
overdue.
Yes, it was long
yes.
overdue.
Like,
It was long overdue.
like I hated the fact that they were trying to like still attach her to the Bailey buddy gimmick and everything and such. I I loved the fact that um she came out as the Bailey buddy stuff, and when she did it, the music stopped. I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, what's this?" And then she pulled out this. I
Like an
guess
axe.
from what I looked from looking closer because
Mhm.
Photoshop, uh, it was a razor blade on a stick and literally just slashed all the Bailey buddies, and then came down to new music. I was like, what?
Hmm.
And the attire fits her a lot better. It makes her look more aesthetically pleasing because, like, don't get me wrong, as much as I love patterns like Macho Man wore in the late 80s, early 90s, I couldn't like it couldn't work with her there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I I feel like she's gonna be a really good heel because I feel like if they give her the ball and say, okay, this is the this is the finish of this rivalry that we want to do.
Mhm.
Can you throw it that way? And that's when she needs to say, well, I see it, we could throw it that way, but can we throw it this way so it gets her out of her comfort zone, but at the same time makes her excel? Because I think Bailey is gonna definitely be I think she's gonna be uh I, honestly, she's been having what I like to call the Dusty Rhodes reigns, which is like very short but like nice reigns in between champions.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I feel like this is going to be their very first time giving her the belt for the long run.
A little lengthier than usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say past WrestleMania, probably till like the night after WrestleMania,
I would say up to
because
WrestleMania. WrestleMania is kind of a 50-50 at that point,
Yeah.
depending on how booking goes at that point.
right now Bailey is drafted to SmackDown, so that's good because
Mhm.
obviously you don't want to draft champion because for those of you who don't know, the draft is happening literally as we speak, the second night, not the first night. We'll talk about that probably next week, but um, that I in looking at the current landscape of wrestlers that are on the show right now, I think that's gonna help elevate more of the divas up because Charlotte is. I feel like they're gonna give Charlotte a little bit more room to be antagonist to like the younger talent that come up from NXT or like from Raw. Kind of be like that Ric Flair. Well, I'm better than you. Kind of like thick, like, and you build that up. You want her to build up more like her dad, but in a way that that works for her.
Yeah.
I give
Like,
Can I give a
'cause no
spoiler?
offense to. Oh, let's go ahead.
Charlotte got drafted to Raw.
Oh, she
Oh,
did?
okay, okay.
Oh, is that what
so,
happened right now?
hold on.
Because
Early
it's
in the show, they had
because it is Monday Night Raw. So she's going to
Okay.
Raw. Does that mean
Uh,
that she's gonna have to feud with Becky?
probably
Yeah.
so. Bailey got drafted to SmackDown.
Yeah. Then what about Sasha? Sasha staying on
Sasha
Raw?
Sasha is on SmackDown.
Oh, Sasha got drafted to SmackDown.
Oh.
She's hurt at the moment. So
Okay.
the way I'm seeing it, you're keeping two of the four horsewomen.
Oh.
You're
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still separate, so they're keeping
Yeah.
Charlotte
and Flair.
and Becky together, and they're keeping Bailey, well, Evil Bailey and Sasha to. I loved it. I was waiting it. I've been saying that Bailey's gonna have a career shift.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's still long overdue, but I want to see how it unfolds.
She made a kid cry.
Can I also point out that this actually, with Charlotte and Becky on the same brand, this could actually accelerate what the original plans were for Shayna Baszler, because originally they were actually supposed to push her up this past, I think it was last September.
Oh,
Like,
really?
she was only supposed to be in NXT for like 2 months
Oh.
tops, because like from what I understood, Dr. Bruce Pritchard was like, she's good, you don't even put her in NXT.
Mm.
I think this is gonna accelerate her going to losing the title in NXT, potentially to Dakota Kai. Fingers crossed here, because I'm a Dakota Kai fan.
Oh.
But I could see her coming up on Raw, and this also points out the fact that if Ronda Rousey doesn't get drafted, she could get signed onto Raw, and we could finally get the horsewomen
We
of
could,
MMA
yeah.
versus the horsewomen of wrestling
We could do that.
at WrestleMania.
I've been waiting for that.
That
I mean, it's
I would
better
be
to do
woke
it.
for that.
It's better to be at WrestleMania than try to rush it.
Well, yeah,
Give
that's
it-
true. But you still need like
because you gotta establish Shayna Baszler and you gotta have the culture shock of, like, oh my gosh, what was she doing here? I thought she went to go start a family and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. And
yeah.
Ronda Rousey's like, guess what, bitch, back. Piper's Pit, and we're done.
Becky, I want my title back.
I think that's what's gonna happen. I think a lot of people are gonna see that now. Definitely.
All right. I can't really think of anything else. I do know that we talked about trying to do like a fantasy type draft picks and stuff like that. We could probably wait till next week to do it so that I can get an idea of how to do mine, because I never really did like a fantasy draft thing.
Yeah.
Did we cover everything?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of things today.
I do want to mention on the podcast that our very own JD Alpha wrestled last night in the ECW building. His match is up on his YouTube channel, which I'll put in our descriptions and stuff like that. But I'm very proud of him. Very proud of him for the past like 2 years now. He's starting to gain some momentum and stuff like that. But it was super cool that he was in the ECW building.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. To wrestle at the old ECW building.
Yeah.
That is no longer.
Well, it's called the 2800 Arena now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know. But to us, it's still the ECW building. Inside, they have
to the wrestling fans, it's still real to us.
Yeah.
The ECW Arena.
Inside they have a nice little painting of ECW, and they give the dates of like when it started and when it ended. So I was like, oh, that's super cool. Epic, you want to add anything?
Not off the top of my head. I'm just reading the the draft results right now as we speak.
Uh-huh.
Just kind of like see what's going on. Like, what's it? Rollins to Raw, obviously.
Yeah.
Lesnar to SmackDown. Flair on Raw, New Day on SmackDown,
Oh.
Andrade with Zelina to Raw to keep him with Flair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kabuki Warriors on Raw.
Okay.
Interesting choice. Daniel Bryan still to SmackDown, Rusev on Raw, Bailey to SmackDown, obviously, and Aleister Black to Raw. So,
Oh my god. Okay.
Well, this also actually we could talk about this real quick.
Sure.
The fact that a lot of people, Fox really wanted the Fiend on Fox because of how much like aura it was getting, and Paul Heyman, who's basically producing the show at this point for Raw,
Mm-hmm.
was really wanting both Aleister Black and the Fiend. So I was thinking, like, are they gonna put him in the tag team, or they're gonna have like the darkest feud since Batman versus Joker? But I like that this was the compromise. I think Aleister Black on Raw actually gives him better opponents, bigger opponents,
Yeah, it
because
does.
at this point, SmackDown's more for like, if I could put this in UFC terms, like more like light heavyweight, middleweight type of wrestling
I can see
you're gonna
that.
see, and this is gonna be like that strong style, like in your face type of thing. Which, speaking of that, since AJ Styles got drafted to SmackDown
Raw.
Raw this past week.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for the botch.
Yeah.
You're not saving me over here.
I got you.
Rip Taylor, where are you when I need confetti?
All right, go ahead.
Continue.
I think that's a great way to end.
And I missed it.
Rip Taylor, we miss you.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
We're seeing NBC talk about WWE draft stuff.
I'm still waiting for Russ to finish his thought.
No, I did.
Oh, okay. I wasn't
Oh.
sure.
I paused
That
what you
was
said.
it.
We gotta. This is a great way to end this.
Okay, all right, cool. All right. So Alpha Rush just finished his thought. That will be all for this episode of the Square Circle podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me. It was super fun finally having Russ on the show. Epic, it was great having you again as well, and also Gio was also great. It did not turn out how I wanted it to turn out, but podcasts are never perfect. And if you guys would still love to support us, just make sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure to follow all of us on Twitter to just see when we go live and all of that. And I want to thank everyone that's listening out there, that they're spending a little bit of their time with us. And thank you for listening to the Square Circle podcast. We will do this again sometime next week. I don't know when, because we got to work around my work schedule.
Yep.
All right, guys. I am ending the recording. So bye, people.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.
And that's a wrap, guys, for episode 2 of the Square Circle podcast. On this podcast, I was joined by Alpha Rush, who gave me excellent input on NWA and all other subject matters. And I am so thrilled to have Epic and Gio along with me so you can hear all of our perspectives. Square Circle podcast is a podcast that talks all about wrestling. It does not matter what it is, what company, even in these two, we will continue to join with your support. And if you did like this episode of the Square Circle podcast, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. As well, keep out for our social media so that way you can learn more about where we're going to be at. But thank you again for tuning in, and we hope to see you guys next time on our next episode for the Square Circle podcast. Have a wonderful day.